Hello, students. I'm Dr. Urmila Joshi, and welcome to this lecture of medicinal chemistry. Today, we are going to talk about bioisosterism. So, let us go to bioisosterism. This topic is included under physicochemical properties and drug action. So, let us try to understand what is bioisosterism. Okay, bioisosterism is an approach used by medicinal chemists for chemical modification of lead compound. I think all of you may be aware that if there is a compound that shows promising activity, but there are some problems, that is, the dose is high, or that there are side effects, or there is a degradation, then such compounds need to be chemically modified so as to remove all the problems. Chemically modified meaning convert to its analog. So it is not an irrational method of choosing any analog. There is rationality behind it. And bioisosterism is one of the approaches used for chemical modification. So let us see what is it. Bioisosteres, by definition, include all atoms and molecules which fit into the broadest definition of isosteres and have similar biological activities. Okay, so bioisosteres are similar to isosteres. Now let us try to understand what are isosteres. Langmuir was a scientist who first developed the concept of chemical isosterism. What is it? Chemical isosterism describes similarities in the physical properties among the functional groups and the molecules. Okay, so it talks about similarities in the physical properties. And these similarities were a result of atoms coming from same column of the periodic table, and these atoms contain same number of valence electrons. So let us try to understand this by example. First, let us try to understand what was Grimm's hydride displacement law. Okay, this accounts for similarities between groups. And this law actually is a hypothesis which describes structural similarities between groups of atoms. And it explains how adding hydrogen to an atom gives the aggregate properties of the atom with next higher atomic number. It will be more clear by this table. This is carbon. This is tetravalent in nature. You add one hydride to this carbon, or one hydrogen for that matter to this carbon, it becomes CH. Okay. Now, this CH as a group or as a group of atoms is equivalent to the next atom in the periodic table, that is nitrogen. After C comes nitrogen, and CH is equivalent to nitrogen. Continuing this further, if you add H to this N, it becomes equivalent to O. Why? The valency is same. But if you add H to this CH also, it becomes equivalent to O because the valency is same. I hope this is clear. So, these two are isosteres of each other, okay? Or CH2 and NH, they are isosteres of each other. Similarly, NH2 will be considered isosteric to OH and CH3. Have a look at it. This is NH. You add H to it, it becomes NH2. So NH2 is isosteric to OH or isosteric to CH3. Now, NH2 you know is basic in nature, whereas OH and CH3 are neutral. As a consequence, NH2 ionizes at physiological pH and it exists in form of a cation. OH and CH3 are not cation. So, if NH2 is replaced by OH or CH3, there will be a change in the overall physicochemical properties and thus drug action. I hope everybody is able to appreciate this, because NH2 getting converted to a cation can have ionic bonding with the receptor and produce its action, whereas OH or CH3 cannot form ionic bond. Okay, so instead of only using chemical isosterism for the molecular modification, it was necessary to study bioisosterism. Now, these are the definitions. Bioisosteres are functional groups or molecules that have same chemical and physical similarities. This word is very important. Apart from physical, there should be chemical similarities, producing broadly similar biological properties. Another definition, which includes the 3D structure. Bioisosteres are compounds or groups that possess nearly equal molecular shapes and volumes. Why this is important? Because then only they will be able to fit in the same receptor in an identical way. Okay. So, it is necessary to remember that what may work as a bioisosteric group in one biological system may not have similar effects on others. Now, bioisosteres are classified into classical bioisosteres and non-classical bioisosteres. The classical bioisosteres are functional groups which satisfy the original condition of Langmuir and Grimm. So, but non-classical bioisosteres, we will see the example of classical and non-classical after this slide. Non-classical bioisosteres do not obey steric and electronic definitions of classical bioisosteres. They also do not necessarily have the same number of atoms as the substituent they replace. Okay, a wider set of compounds and functional groups are encompassed by non-classical bioisosteres. So this takes care of your exam part, what to write, but for understanding purpose and also for writing in the exam, let us see what are classical and non-classical bioisosteres. Okay, serine, you know, has OH, CH2OH as R. Cysteine has CH2SH. So this OH is replaced by SH. Okay, this becomes a classical bioisostere which is naturally occurring. Okay, same is the case with human insulin and horse insulin which was used. They are natural bioisosteres of each other. Then tyrosine and histidine. These are not very classical bioisosteres, but they are also natural bioisosteres of each other. Okay, coming to classical bioisosteres, the univalent groups and atoms which act as classical bioisosteres, CH3 and NH2, CH3 and Cl, CH3 and OH, F, etc. They are univalent groups acting as classical isosteres. NH2 may be an odd man out over here because it ionizes. Similarly, bivalent atoms, we are going to see examples of these in drug molecules. Trivalent atoms and tetravalent atoms. This table becomes important for writing in the exam, where you will give at least one or two examples of univalent, bivalent, etc. bioisosteres, bioisosteric groups. These are the ring equivalents. Again, we are going to see examples of these. Just remember that these are the ring equivalents. Now coming to non-classical bioisosteres. They are completely different many a times. Look at this COOH. If you want to replace COOH, there are so many other options. Look at this. SO2NHR. Why? Because the size is not important over here. This is acidic H, and there is also acidic H over here. There are two hydrogen bond acceptors and more than two hydrogen bond acceptors over here. Okay, this is a hydrogen bond donor. This is a hydrogen bond donor. Same is the case with sulfonic acid. Now look at this H, which is a acidic hydrogen and hydrogen bond donor, has been retained in all these non-classical bioisosteres. Their size is different. The number of atoms are different. Okay. This is COOH, and there are cyclic groups acting as bioisosteres. Okay, look at this. This is a cyclic group acting as bioisostere of COOH. Okay, all these are cyclic groups. This is tetrazole, but one thing is common. That is the hydrogen bond donor. Okay, every structure has a hydrogen bond donor. This is also an interesting thing. Carbonyl group, just have a look at it. Instead of O, there are two CNs. Okay? Or sulfonyl. Amide group. Various bioisosteres of amide are possible. And now, even for OH, various non-classical bioisosteres are possible. Okay. Catechol. Why bioisosteric replacement is necessary for catechol is because all of you must know that there is an enzyme called as catechol O-methyl transferase, COMT, catechol O-methyl transferase. And this enzyme acts on this catechol functional group and metabolizes it. Therefore, these are the bioisosteres of catechol. Thioether, there are various bioisosteres of thioether. Have a look at this. Thiourea also. And this example of thiourea and the earlier example of carbonyl group, we will see in detail in ranitidine. Okay. Now, examples of bioisosteric modification. This is azidothiamidine. This is a drug which is used for HIV. Now, look at the structural similarity between azidothiamidine and thymine, which is a naturally occurring nucleose. So, the OH is being replaced by N3, azide. And this gets converted to a bioisosteric modification of thymine. Procane. There is an ester. Sorry, this carbon should be attached to this benzene ring. This is an ester group. This was hydrolyzing very fast and therefore its duration of action was very less. So instead of ester which hydrolyzes fast, they made it to amide. Now have a look at amitriptyline, which has a CH2 over here, a classical bioisosteric replacement, CH2 by O. Amitriptyline was converted to doxepine. The rest all structure is same, and this could avoid some of the metabolism problems. This is estradiol. We saw this even in geometric isomerism. These two OH groups are important because they bind to the receptor and this aromatic ring. Now, instead of being a completely cyclic compound, they converted to diethylstilbestrol, which is a non-cyclic compound. So, this is an example of non-classical bioisosterism. Look at this. Okay. We saw that this is isoproterenol and this is soterenol. Okay, this H of phenolic H forms a hydrogen bond with the receptor. So that is being retained, but OH is being replaced by NH and then SO2CH3. This is soterenol. Okay, with this, we end today's lecture on bioisosterism. And if there is any difficulty, you may mail me at the mail address that is given to you. If you appreciate this lecture, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.